When you think about the most popular Pokemon ROM hacks, the two that usually come to mind are Unbound and Radical Red. Two hacks that have introduced hundreds of Pokemon and features from newer generations, a ton of crazy new quality of life features, and in Unbound's case, updated graphics, all while using Pokemon Fire Red, a game that was released 20 years ago, as a base. Everything I just described is incredibly impressive, and not something I would have expected to come out of ROM hacking a few years ago. But the main thing these hacks have in common with their base game is the battle system. No matter how many changes these developers introduced, the turn-based combat has always stayed. And this has been the case for every single Fire Red ROM hack except for one, Pokemon Crown. A ROM hack that completely scraps the battle system we know and love for something we've never really seen before in a Pokemon game. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the hack, how it was made, and what impact it could have on the future of Pokemon ROM hacking. Upon booting up the game, I was greeted with a very pretty title screen, that was followed by an even more graphically appealing intro. I was then sent into the world, which was once again very nice to look at. I was already very impressed, and I hadn't even gotten to the battle system yet. I did a bit of exploring and accepted every quest I found because I just couldn't help myself. The first area was so well made, and overall just a great place to start my adventure. But finally, I entered the game's equivalent to the professor's lab to choose my starter Pokemon. My options were the three reptiles, which was pretty fitting for the game's fantasy theme. I decided to go with Draco because it was my personal favorite among the three. But it's now time to head out into the wild and finally get my hands on this brand new battle style. When the encounter begins, you can place up to 6 of your 9 party Pokemon on the field to all battle at the same time. Every time your Pokemon deals damage, they gain energy, and when their energy is full, they can unleash an ability that does damage or raises or lowers a stat. Although some Pokemon just have a passive that's always active. While this might make each individual Pokemon feel less special, it does allow you to build a huge team of different units. And since you can have 6 of them on the field at the same time, it won't be difficult to keep them all at a high level. And if you're worried about your Pokemon becoming overleveled, then don't worry because they're capped at whatever your current trainer level is, which can be quickly increased by completing main and side quests, and winning battles. Oh right, side quests. Unlike what you might expect, they're very simple in this game and don't require much time to complete while offering nice rewards. But what about the game's difficulty? If the units you place on the field fight for you without action, would there even be a challenge? At first, I didn't think so. Most of the battles in the early game were pretty easy and the only strategy I had to apply was to just catch more Pokemon. But that all quickly changed when I reached the game's first gym leader. Unlike the normal games, the gym leader faces you in 5 waves, forcing you to come prepared with a fully trained team of 9. And after just a couple of tries, I was stumped. This battle seemed unbeatable. I was about to give up when I remembered something. I checked the quest log to confirm my suspicions, and sure enough, there was story content I hadn't done yet. Now, I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, this game doesn't have your ordinary Pokemon roadblocks, like cut trees or random NPCs standing in the way. Instead, you're blocked by difficult battles, and if you manage to win them, I guess you can skip certain content? I personally found that pretty cool if true, but at the same time, I kinda sucked, so I just did the story content I skipped, revisited the gym, and after a few tries, I finally came out on top. I'm going to stop here for now since I don't want to spoil any more of the hack for those of you interested. I do, however, have 2 pieces of criticism I'd like to share from my experience playing. First of all, I noticed that there aren't any sound effects during the battles, just background music. I do, however, understand that this might not be possible to fix due to the limitations of ROM hacking. If you don't know what I mean, a ROM hack can't exceed the size of 32 megabytes. So I have to guess that by not adding sound effects, they're instead putting that space toward more content. Fair enough, but my next piece of criticism is about the battle system. During one of the story quests, you encounter a guardian Pokemon. During this battle, you can actually control your Pokemon's movements and which enemies to focus on. I really would have liked it if you could utilize this feature in normal battles, or even just against the gym leader. Either way, I did enjoy what I played, so it's not that big of a deal. So now you might be wondering, how is this even possible? Like I said in the beginning, this project was developed using Fire Red as a base. I tried scrolling through their Discord and even searching on forums for any details on how the battle system was developed, but unfortunately I didn't find much. But I will share what I did find about the game's current development. But first, I want to say that I don't know much about the technical side of ROM hacking. Despite being a fan game developer for almost 4 years, they are very different internally. So take most of what I say with a grain of salt. Pokemon Crown was originally developed as a binary hack, which means that tools were used to edit a GBA or GPC ROM to get the results they wanted. However, a developer made a post a few months ago stating that this method of hacking was limited and therefore holding the project back. So they have instead been spending the last and probably the next few years porting all of their systems to decomps. Which means that instead of editing the basic contents of a hack, they're going deep in and changing the source code directly, basically creating their own ROM. While the extended development time may seem like a disappointment to those looking forward to playing, the alternative was to cut a lot of content in Pokemon, which, from my perspective and opinion, the path they chose sounds like a much better idea than to just keep working on what they described as a ticking time bomb. So what does this game mean for the future of ROM hacking? Like I said at the beginning of the video, for the last 20 years, every other Generation 3 hack has used the turn-based battle system. But what if that were to change? What if we were to get more hacks like Crown in the future? During Pokemon Unbound's original development cycle, the creators released the complete Fire Red upgrade, which was basically a massive upgrade to Fire Red, including but not limited to moves and abilities from Generation 8, level scaling options, hidden abilities, Mega Evolution, and much more. This meant that any ROM hacker could create a game with a lot of Unbound's amazing features without having to take the time to make any of it from scratch. What I mean by all of this is that the developers of Crown could eventually release something like that for their battle engine, making it open source for people to build hacks out of. Now, I'm not saying they have to do this. The creators are completely within their right to not make their code public. But if they did, then we could potentially see a completely new genre of Pokemon ROM hacks appear. Like, imagine a game using Crown's battle system, but instead set in a different region or timeline, maybe with regional variants or even new Pokemon. The possibilities could be endless, and while it may take a few years to get there, it'll certainly take the community by storm when it does. While I was doing research for this video, I found a lot of negative comments and posts about the hack, which from my perspective is just kind of silly. Whether or not you like the battle system or the gameplay or story, I think the game should be respected as a technical marvel. Seriously ask yourself, do you think something like this would have been possible a few years ago? I bet most of you would answer no. ROM hacking has really evolved in ways that I would have never imagined, and it's going to continue to do so until almost every hack you see is completely unrecognizable from their base game. But anyway, I really enjoyed what I played, and I wish the developers luck with the future of this project. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos where I cover interesting fan games and ROM hacks. But that's about all I have left to say. I hope you have a nice day, and goodbye!